Welcome, Rodney. Nice
Thank
to have
you.
you here.
It's so good to be here. So good to be with y'all. Hello, everybody.
So I thought I would start. The first question is everyone's on there waiting to hear because we titled this title, Are We Enough?
Yeah.
And so I just thought they're anxious to hear what's the answer to that question.
Yeah, wouldn't it be anticlimactic if I was like, I don't know, are you? I think yes.
Yes, I think yes too.
And I think it's a powerful question for me because for so many of us, our lives are about proving that we're enough.
Yeah.
Right? So if I get the right job, I'll be enough.
Yeah.
If I'm in the right relationship, I'll be enough. If I have the third marriage, I'll be enough. Right? There's all these ways in which we're trying and attempting to be enough. And the wild thing about it is that we already are it.
Yeah.
It's actually who we are.
And so how's been your own personal journey in discovering that? And what were the things that you had to kind of explore that maybe distanced you from that feeling?
I grew up in a very religious home. I grew up in the South Dallas, Texas, and I was told that I actually needed to be other than who I am to be enough. And so I was taught that because I was gay, I wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Because I was black, I needed to prove that I was worthy.
Yeah.
There were all these ways in which I was taught or I thought that I was unworthy of love, not enough, that I needed to get more degrees to be enough, get more relationships to be enough, that my bank account meant that I was enough or not enough. And so there was a way in which everything, or all of my experiences, were really asking a profound question, when will I accept who I already am?
Yeah.
And so for me, my life, or this experience, and in having a church, I had a church. The thing that I realized in doing my spiritual practices and doing this work was that I needed to wrestle with the most hardest thing in life, and that was wrestling with my humanity and the beauty of being created exactly as the divine or as infinite or as Beyonce, whatever word you choose to call that thing itself. I'm just saying, good album, right? But wrestling with what that meant was a hard thing. And I think that is the experience that I think we're seeing in our world, that our world is reflecting right now, these questions. Do we believe we are enough?
Beautiful.
And do we believe that we're worthy of who we are?
And when we don't believe we are enough, what do we do with who do we become? And how do we navigate our world, which is often what we see, right, in this world today. And I think I'm particularly impacted by young people's lives, particularly on social media, where everything is rated and given a number. It's like if you go into a forest, the trees are all beautiful for what they are. The bushes are all, but you put a number on a tree, this is a 6, this is a 5. Like your experience of that forest totally changes. And that I get concerned that our kids are growing up today and they're seeing they have a number on social media. Every post they have is is it a 3, how many likes or whatever. And I'm curious, how do we come back to that sense? Dan called it we or me or we, or like, how do we come back to that sense of belonging and like enoughness, so that we come from a place of abundance versus a scarcity of like continually trying? Do you have a sense of the medicine that we need right now for that?
I think this is what I find struggling, or the challenge, I think, is that again is like what we're seeing out in the world is really a manifestation or reflection of what is happening in our inner world. Right? So the rating is actually what we do within our own selves. Right? And I think the thing that I have wrestled with in my own life is, how do I have compassion for that little boy in me that sometimes is worried that I'm not lovable or I'm not enough. And that I see the world in a very particular way because it is a manifestation or reflection of the doubts and fears and worries that are within me.
Yeah.
And so the medicine, I think, is actually really simple and hard at the same time.
Yeah.
The simpleness of it is, how do we accept the beauty that we are it? That the beauty of the recognition of the universe or spirit or love, the omnipresence of love, means that at the cellular and the molecular level of my being is the infinite itself.
Yeah.
Singing my name, calling me. And so this is meaning that the medicine is, how do I take a breath and a moment and sit with the silence that there is the Spirit worshiping or celebrating who I am as Rodney Wayne McKenzie Jr.
Just as he is.
Just as I am.
Yeah.
And here's the hard thing about it for us, is that it's not only true for me, but it's true for you, right? And so it is not this selfish thing that I can hoard to myself. It's actually divine selfishness, that it is true for me and true for you.
Yeah.
And I think that is the medicine. Can we accept our beauty, that our love? I like to say this thing, that love got turned on by this idea, wrapped itself in itself and called it you. And that's who you are.
Yeah.
But how often in our society do we get to be still enough to celebrate the beauty of who we are?
Beautiful. Thank you. Awesome. I don't even know where to go after that. Could you talk a little bit about, was that an instant, was that a gradual kind of embodiment and discovery with you? Or did something like all of a sudden there was some experience and that hit you in like more of a momentary realization? How's that landed in this body and this being for you?
You know, I grew up in a Pentecostal church. Does anyone know the Pentecostal folks? Like Southern, I saw some hands, right? We like a Southern church that believed in you got saved.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was interesting because it's like, do you get saved once and then you're done?
Yeah.
And it is like, I think that what I've experienced for myself is that life is a constant act of forgetting and remembering, right? It is a constant act of remembering who and what I am, and then having a moment in the car driving where I forget who I am.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a beautiful process though, right? Of actually taking it deeper. And so I think in our society, in our world, or my experience has been, and what I think life offers us, is that it's not a linear process, that we go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think what we're up to is like we get to forget and remember, and that there's this part of ourselves that are within ourselves that never forgets who and what we are. And so we're knocking into this great aha moment of what my name actually is,
right?
Who I really am.
And so to answer my question, it sounds like that's been a gradual process. It wasn't like you went and did some ayahuasca somewhere or done something or had some traumatic experience. Like this has come more into, and it's a continual practice for you.
Yes, it is.
And I'm curious what the role of community plays in this, if anything, because I know that's a huge kind of you building allyship and building community and building like more people on the path of spiritual awareness or whatever phrase we want to call it. And I'm curious your own journey in that building of community and building of allyship.
Yeah, one of the things I get to do in my work at Fetzer is working with or creating communities of donors, philanthropists, to really wrestle with spirit, wrestle with faith, wrestle with love, and see our giving as a demonstration of love and faith and spirit. And what I have discovered in this path or in this work is that you can't do it by yourself. That we're actually not created to do this by ourselves. I love that the poem, "The day of the lone wolf is over." Like we got to be in relationship and community with each other. And for me, you know, as someone who studied religion, you know, studied religious traditions, you know, like the early Christian churches were actually about people eating and breaking bread together and coming together and just celebrating or talking about life and the challenges of life. And so actually being in community, being with other people, allowing people to reflect who you are or remind you of who you are becomes really critical.
That's beautiful. And so what are the openings or the struggles that you have within that when you have conversations about people? Because not everybody likes to talk about love and spirituality, particularly donors.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we need to measure it, and like, how do you show? So how does that happen?
Yeah.
How do those conversations take place?
Well, I have found actually, surprisingly enough, like last year, I did 175 meetings with donors.
Wow.
Right?
Almost one every other day.
Sometimes multiple days with multiple meetings. And I think what I have been surprised by or moved by is that actually people want to talk about love.
Really?
And spirit and faith. And especially because I think our society and our world has been through some outrageously challenging moments. I mean, we could name them, right? COVID, what we're seeing happening in the democracies, war.
Yeah.
Like there's so much that people have experienced. So many people have been told that this one next election will save everything.
Yeah.
Right? Y'all heard that? And then you do the election, you're like, oh, snap, it doesn't. Like, what does that mean, right?
Yeah.
And so many people have been told that if you make enough money, you're going to be okay, you'll be happy.
Enough, yeah.
And people don't have that experience.
Yeah.
And so what I'm finding and discovering is that people are really thirsty. I'll use thirsty in a positive way. But they're thirsty to be reminded that there's something greater within. Yeah. And that wondering or that thing that they're beginning to feel in the silence or feel when they look at their bank accounts and go, what, is there more? Yeah. They want to be connected to others and have that kind of conversation and to move through the guilt and the shame that they're experiencing in their own lives. Yeah. And so I'm finding that if you offer an opportunity to come out first about faith, to come out first about spirit, or come out first as a person who believes in love, people want to follow that. People want to be in conversation about the power and the possibility of love.
Beautiful. And do you feel in terms of faith or non-faith, do you feel like those are both paths? You can kind of choose a faith-based religion, or you can kind of choose your own journey. And how does faith or not faith work within that love experience?
Yeah, I think faith, I use these words interchangeably for me. I'd say faith, spirituality, and love.
Got it.
Because I think that one of my favorite verses, I think a Taoist verse, right, is that a name that can be named is not the name. A way that can be walked is not the way. Tao is both named and nameless. Yeah. So we can call it whatever. That's why I like to joke around, like, you can call it Beyonce if you want to. I'm good with that because there's something underneath that what we're actually talking about. Yeah. And so for me, I think that when we talk about faith and spirituality and love, it's actually our humanity trying to point to that which is so huge. Yeah. And we're using language at the best we have to wrestle with that truth. Yeah. And I think one of the things that I love, Bob Boyster at Fetzer always says, is that there's a problem behind the problems. Like there's something underneath what we're seeing. And faith, spirituality, love begins to point us to that which allows us to see the real solution, the solution set of our worthiness, of our love, of realizing that you are enough. Yeah. And what would it mean to operate in life knowing that I am good, I am enough, I am worthy, and how that allows for our world to be recreated in the image of enoughness.
Beautiful. Wow. Awesome. And that's inherent.
It's inherent. Yeah.
That's inherent. It's inherent. Now, for the person out there that's like, this all sounds really nice, it sounds beautiful, I don't feel a lot of love. Yeah. I don't feel a lot of worthiness. I don't feel a lot of connection with other people. I can't remember the exact percentage of the people lonely in the world in the U.S., but it's a high number. Like, where do I go first? If I resonate on some level but that's not my direct experience of life. How would you navigate somebody who's kind of in a place where they feel incredible isolation and difficulty and not connected to that experience?
You asked that question like you've asked that question yourself, Soren.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
At times,
right?
yeah.
I love that, and I think spiritual tools. I like to think of them as tools because you have multiple tools in your toolbox to support you.
Yeah.
But I do think one of the tools that I think is really important is to take a breath.
Okay.
Like, can we just take a breath into our bodies? And because it feels so good, let us take another deep breath. Just breathe. And sometimes I like threes. One more time. Deep. Just take a deep breath into your body and just breathe in love. And from this place, I just wonder, from love, from that which calls you by your name, from the light within you, ask your heart, what does your heart want you to know? Take a breath. What has your heart been trying to tell you? And just breathe. And what would happen if, in these moments of loneliness, in these moments of deep questions, we have the courage to ask our hearts to go within? When I first opened my church, I did this really wild thing. The first thing I said was, I'm only preaching for 15 minutes. If you can't get it in 15 minutes, I'm not doing what I need to do. But
This is in New York City, right?
This is in New York City. Yeah, I had a church in New York City in Chinatown. And it was about 200 people a week. And what I would do is only preach for 15 minutes, and then I would set up a mic, and I would say, what did you hear? Right? And I'll never forget the first service, someone stood up and said, this young Latino guy said, on Friday, I tested positive for HIV. And he said, and what I thought was that this was God's way of saying that I was wrong.
Wow.
Because that's what he grew up in, right? And then he said something really interesting. He goes, but I think what I'm hearing, and when I take a breath and just like listen in, what I'm hearing is that I'm loved.
Wow.
That God loves me. That I am love. And then what I realized was that what we're doing, or what we can invite people in, is to go underneath what you've been taught, what you've been told. Go beyond the idea or belief of what maybe your family said or society says about who you are, what you look like. Am I too big? Am I too small? Am I too tall? Am I not tall enough? All of these things. And if you'd like to have a moment to be courageous enough to like touch that which is within you that calls your name forth and tells you you are good, you can experience the light that is so transformative. So the medicine I would offer, one tool, is to how do we support people and allowing or creating the opportunities to reveal the light that they are.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And can we kind of fake it if we need to? Like, can I like wake up in the morning like, I don't know if I feel loved, but I'm going to walk around today as if I'm lovable. Like I am enough and I am lovable, even though not 100% of me might be on line with that. Is that a tool?
I think, it's so funny. Like I will always say is that sometimes, no matter what, my name is Rodney. That's my name.
Yeah.
And sometimes, even if I forget my name is Rodney, guess what my name is? Rodney. Right? And so sometimes maybe I don't feel like Rodney, but guess what? I'm Rodney. And that's the promise here is that who you are is that thing itself. And you can use whatever tool, whether it's sometimes faking it,
Right.
whether sometimes I live in New York City, and so I have, the only thing big in my apartment is a mirror. I have one big mirror. Everything else is really small. And I write on my mirror that I am love.
Wow.
That helps me remember and see myself. So whatever you need to do, whatever the tools are, and what it means to be in community is to support each other in remembering who you are.
Wow.
And for some of you, I'm just wondering, some of us have not heard today that we are loved. Can I be the first to tell you how loved you are? How that I incarnated in this world or in this moment to be in this space with you. And I'm so grateful because I know that I'm enough because I see that you are enough. And like, what does it mean to be in community with each other and support each other and faking it or remembering or doing whatever tool we need to do so that you can see the light that you are?
That's beautiful. So we just have another couple minutes, and I'm wondering, is there anything on your heart that we haven't really been able to say or that we haven't addressed? Or is there anything that you feel like needs some particular attention? Or is there any kind of like closing message that feels, I mean, not that that wasn't enough, but anything kind of still on your heart as we kind of close up our conversation?
Well, I think, what I would only offer is that we are living in a time where the world, our neighbors, our community is asking a question. And the question that we get, our answer gets to be who we are. Whoever you are, whatever you are, whatever that dream is, whatever that thing that you has been calling forth your name, answer the call. Because you are it. Like that you are the light and the love and the truth and the power itself. And that our world right now is asking for us to come out about who and what we are. In truth, love, power, brilliance, joy, ease, abundance. And may we be daring enough in this life to allow for all of who we are to be seen and experienced not only by your neighbor, but by you. Mm-hmm. And that's what Fetzer is interested in and committed to. Imagine if that was the movement, a movement of love, of spirit, not of Democrat or Republican, rich or poor, but what if we were about this love, this enoughness that is our names? And I'm interested in that.
Beautiful.
That's what we're interested in at Fetzer.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Rodney.
Thank you.
Thank you.